Hi guys, I'm Nick Bester. I'm a 2:19 marathoner and running coach, and I am back from New York Marathon. What an incredible experience it was. It did not disappoint. Check out this epic medal that you get. In actual fact, it's such a big gold medal that when I got into my taxi on the way home, the taxi driver thought that I'd won New York Marathon, and I probably should have just gone with it. That weekend did not disappoint. The race had 1 million spectators, which was just absolutely mind-blowing. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you probably watched the video that I made of the actual race itself, and hopefully it gave you a good feel as to what I went through that race and just the vibe that those spectators give you and how much fuel it gives you. That marathon is known to be, one of the most iconic major of the marathon majors, and also the one with like the best vibe. So I put up an Instagram sort of poll as to what runners that have done both New York Marathon and London Marathon found to be a better vibe, because I feel like those two compete and there's nothing quite like them, in the running world, let's say. It was so like 50-50. I would say, if anything, more people chose New York because they just said, the loudness of the crowds was just unexplainable in a way compared to London. But I felt like people from America were choosing New York and people from the UK were choosing London, and people in between were sort of like 50-50. So you know what, on my side, I think there's so many times in New York that it felt like I was running London, because it's just that buzz that you only get from London Marathon, let's say, until I'd experienced New York. I'm still undecided. Some days I'm torn, like, New York is definitely better from a crowd point of view, and London from, more like an iconic point of view in a way. At the same time, I think, being based in London for 7.5 years, I am a little bit biased towards London. Just to take you back to sort of the Saturday, the day before, Central Park is the place to be. It was incredible how many running clubs were there and how running's trending at the moment. And I love seeing it. Like, there must have been, I don't even know, but so many different running clubs. And it's just encouraging people to be healthy, get out, exercise. You meet like-minded people. It keeps you motivated. And that's just awesome to see. So I loved seeing that. I wasn't giving the marathon a full send, but I thought, I've gone all the way to America for a few days. I have to at least do one fast kilometer. So I didn't have too much FOMO on marathon day for those guys giving it a full send. So yeah, pretty much did 1K as hard as I could the day before in Central Park. And that was awesome. That's like a runner's dream. I wish I could do more sessions there. But yeah, going into marathon day, the logistics in this marathon, can I just say, is like any other marathon. I haven't done a marathon with this many logistics in the past. Like, you've got to, book your time that you go to the expo. You've got to book how you're going to get to the start. You've got to take a bag the day before for the start. You need to actually be on it. And thankfully, I was part of the Best Athletics group, and guys were telling me that the clock's changing the night before and all these bits and pieces that I probably wouldn't have even known. You definitely have to be a lot more organized, and I mean, rightly so. Like, it was the world's biggest marathon, most marathon finishes. I know Berlin was when I did that 6 weeks ago, but now New York's overtaken that, because I kind of expected that. So it's just over 55,000, which is incredible. But the amount of logistics it takes to organize that many people at the start, starting in one area, finishing in another, is just, it's a whole level of organization. So kudos to two people who organize that. You've got to wake up at like 4 a.m. What I did was I booked my ferry at 6, and I thought, the best way for me to get to where the ferry goes to Staten Island was to run there. One, because it was the fastest way for me. It was about 6Ks. That was about 24 minutes. If I'd taken public transport, that was probably about 35 to 40 minutes. I didn't want to bank on public transport. It was cold that morning. It was like, I don't know, between 3 and 6 degrees Celsius. So it was very, very cold. And I thought, at least if I run there, I'll stay warm. But what that meant was that I had to run with my drink mix, run with half a loaf of bread that I smeared peanut butter and honey on. There was no one awake in that city, or I thought a few people might have that idea, or take bikes to catch the ferry to go over. But I didn't see anyone for the first sort of like 5Ks. I kept on like having to stop and check Google Maps to see I was on the right route, because I thought, have I got the wrong day? Am I going in the wrong direction? Like, there's 55,000 people doing this marathon. Where is everybody type thing? Anyways, it wasn't until about, I promise you, about 100 meters before the entrance to catch the ferry where I saw so many people, and I was like, thank goodness, I've got the right place. Marathons are stressful at the most of times, and there's always a few curveballs. That was okay. I was hoping it wouldn't get any worse. At one stage, I was worried though. You get on the ferry, there's ladies ringing a bell, getting you in the zone. Everyone's got their breakfast. And then from the ferry, you end up catching a school bus, which was a really cool experience. I think, for people that aren't from the US but always see like those yellow school buses. They're very iconic in a way. So that was just a cool experience. I would love that if I wasn't even doing the marathon. But then you get to Staten Island, and it was probably, I don't know, maybe like 6:30. I was starting at 9:10, so that's almost 3 hours. And I was literally at the start, like the first person that crosses the line almost. And I know some people weren't starting till like, 10:30, 11, maybe even 11:30. So I have no right to complain. A lot of people waited a lot longer than I did. But you know what? People did warn me to take warm clothes, and I took like a long sleeve and a pair of tights because I thought if I'm cold, I'll just, jog around. But it was probably almost the coldest I've ever been in my life. I've never wanted a marathon to start as badly as I did for that one. When I went to the coffee station, I had a double coffee, so 2, and thankfully it was so hot. It like burnt my taste buds, burnt my lips, but it made my soul warm, which brought me to life. Thank goodness. They have bagels there, so I had a cinnamon flavored bagel just to top up a little bit because marathons are marathons. And then what I did was I went to my starting area, found a patch of grass, and literally curled up into a ball, busy shivering. But whatever you take there, you're not taking home. Whatever goes there doesn't come home with you. So thankfully it all gets donated to charity, and it's all for a good cause. But rather go on the warm side if you're unsure. The marathon starts, and you got to try and control that adrenaline because you're on the island. Some people will only finish like 10 hours later from when they get to the start. Even though there were those marathon vibes in the beginning, people were actually just pretty chilled and trying to like just go into their own zen zone, let's say, and conserve their energy. Once the gun went, I made it pretty clear and obvious that I was targeting a sub 2:45, and we're chatting to a few people around us. It was their goal as well. And it's so hard not to get carried away. Even though the first kilometer is slightly uphill, there's like helicopters to the side of you, in front of you. You've been waiting around, you want to get warm. So I think our average pace needed to be sort of like 3:54, and we probably did like a 4:02 kilometer, so about 8 seconds slower up that hill. And that was me trying to hold people back in my group, trying to target sub 2:45. So you know what? It's such an early stage in the race, but if you surge even then, you'll pay for it later on. So you really need to try and control your adrenaline, and it's hard to hold the people back that were in the group. But then from like a filming point of view, I want to talk about sort of the marathon was the easier part. The filming, well, that was a bit of a harder part. Okay, so this is the camera that I used, an Insta360 Go 3S, and then for the metrics on screen, my Garmin Forerunner 965, basically once you sync this, you can connect your Garmin data to it, and then it matches up exactly where en route. That's a bonus, and it's really nice for you to see how much effort relative to speed that I'm putting in. This is the sound you hear when you start it. Okay, so it's quite a loud beep, and then when you stop it, so that's quite loud, and it's on my cap, which is probably around 4 centimeters away from my ear. Those crowds were so loud that I couldn't hear whether I'd start or stopped it. That was a filming nightmare. It was like every time I put it back in my cap, it's a magnet piece. My hands were so cold. I had to try and get it out, look at it to see that it wasn't flashing red and wasn't recording, and then put it back in my cap with like your fingers not working so well. But that just gives you an idea as to how loud the spectators were. You know what? At least I didn't use an e-bike, but that's a conversation for a completely different time. So going back to the race and about the sub 2:45 pack. So we were pretty big early on, and I was quite vocal as to what our goal was, and we sort of like picked people up as we went along. I would say at the 5k mark we were probably about 20 people. At around the 15k mark, or even halfway, we were probably about 25 to 30 people big. And I kept on giving people updates sort of like every 5k is exactly what we're tracking for. 2:44 low, 2:43 high at one stage, 2:44.20. I've been in that position in the past where someone's paced me, and it's just so nice to just switch off and sort of like tuck in. You don't worry about your splits, you just go with it. That was my goal for this race. As I've made clear before, like, I'm super competitive, and I always want to try and be the best me that I can be, but I don't want to full send absolutely every marathon because it hurts, and life's too short to do that all the time. So, when I enjoy marathons like this, like what better place to enjoy it and help people than New York Marathon? And if you watch the video of me racing, I think you can tell, effort levels were probably about 3 or 4 out of 10, let's say. Those are the good times. And you go through so many tougher times in running. Like if I think about, my marathon specific long run sessions in the countryside with little sleep because the kids haven't slept well, and tired 100-mile legs, and you need to try hit marathon pace on undulating bendy routes. Like those are the hard times. Those are like the 9, 10 out of 10 tough facing demon times. Obviously the full send race day, you go through tough times, but you know, when you're not at your max capacity and you're helping others, like those are the incredible times. And I feel like you need to go through those motions to really appreciate and enjoy the incredible times. But yeah, so the pack was looking good. But I mean, you know what? I'm no fool to marathons. I've done so many in the past that I know that early on you're comfortable, and you're comfortable until you're not comfortable, and then when you're not comfortable, it's a slog, and you know, you can lose time very quickly. So I was under no illusion that our happy clappy sub 245 pack at halfway with, you know, 25-30 people, we weren't going to finish with that many people. I tried to convince people that we were, but deep down inside I knew. We got to the 30k mark and we were probably about, I don't know, about 10 or so still solid. Fast forwarded a little bit more to the 35k mark and there were only 3 of us left. Majority of people had, you know, drifted back, but 1 or 2 people actually went ahead and you know, I said to them, I was like, if you guys are feeling strong and you're on track for a PB or something, like, you know, go for it. Don't just stay in the pack for that. Like, it's your day. And then I stuck with Steve, a guy from the UK as well. It was pretty cool. He saw his family at 40Ks, which was, you know, very, very cool to see. And then, yeah, we bought it in 2:44:37. So from a pacing point of view, I think we had banked about a minute almost at halfway. And then I sort of like, we faded by 30 seconds in the second half. And I thought running that way would be the best way to try and keep the pack together for as long as possible. When you're running negative splits, you know, you're sort of breaking a lot of people towards the end. So I didn't want to do that. You know what? The happiest person, and this made my day, was seeing how much it meant to Jan at the end.
Sub 245, baby! Did you make it? Yeah! What was your time? Baby! Yes! Yes! Let's go!
He faded off us a little bit towards the end. And I was just hoping and praying he would break sub 245, and he had never done it before, but yeah, he PB'd in 2:44:56 or 57. He was 3 or 4 seconds under. That finish line feeling that he showcased, that made every single moment of that pacing duty worth it, because it was like, you can see how much it means to people. So yeah, that was honestly such a cool experience. You know, I'd been told by a lot of people, a lot of runners I coach have done it before, and they've told me what it's like, and you know, I've seen videos and seen on social media what it's about, but to actually experience it was just unbelievable. And I think my expectation was like up here, and the way the day played out was like even higher. So yeah, couldn't recommend it more highly. And if you're watching this, you have to do it one day, and if you've done it before, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're watching this and you've done a marathon before, you'll be able to understand, like, running a marathon next to someone, not even the whole way, but a big portion, you develop this like bond that you suffering together, you're going through the motions together, you're appreciating things together. And you know, I still chat to a lot of people a few days later after the race. So it's incredible how each one just tells a different story, and the bonds and buddies you make throughout each race. And just to speak a little bit about the post-race vibes, this also blew my mind. So pretty much everyone around New York, whether you go to the pub afterwards or you're heading off to the airport, or you know, anywhere for the next couple of days, you're wearing your medal around your neck, and people are so enthusiastic there about congratulating you about finishing the marathon. You know, I think a lot of people don't understand, if you did a 2:30 or if you did a 5:30, like, you can say any time and they're like, wow, that's amazing. And it just makes you feel so cool. And we really got a sense of that at the pub afterwards. Like, every person that we walked past almost was just congratulating you, and it was such a cool feeling. And really, you know, New York City and the people around there should be proud of that, because yeah, it really makes runners feel good. Okay, now on to my top tips for this race. It's such a long build up that you need to be organized, very organized with your breakfast and with warm clothes. So take enough breakfast with you to the start. If in doubt, take a little bit more. You can always throw it away, but you know, you're not at home lying in your bed, you're out there in the cold, you're actually burning energy. So you want to make sure you fueled nicely. So, you know, you got to take your breakfast and drink mix with you, and take a lot of it. Number 2, take very, very warm clothes. I took warm-ish clothes and it wasn't enough. Like, you want to be comfortable. You don't have to worry about that before your race. The next thing is that the first bit is uphill. You start on an uphill. If you pretty much hit goal pace on that first uphill, you're going to be in trouble later on. Have the confidence to know that you can hold back a little bit there, and you'll make it up on the downs. And that pretty much brings me to my next point. On an undulating route like that, like, don't panic when you're going up the hills and you start falling behind time. Like, have the confidence to know that you're going to lose a bit of time on the hills. Your heart rate's going to climb a little bit, but you're going to make it up on the downhill. And if you surge and your heart rate spikes massively on that uphill, then you're not going to be able to make up on that down, and you're going to pay for it in the latter stages of the race. And then finally, you have to soak up that crowd. 1 million spectators. I always, when I watch football and I see a footballer score a goal and then a stadium of 40, 50, 60,000 people celebrating, people are screaming for them, I'm always think like, how does that feeling feel? You know, this is a taste of how that feeling feels. And if you run towards them and just lift your hand, the noise level just goes crazy, and let that fuel you. Like, if you need the crowd, lean on them. They're incredible. They're there to support you. But once again, try and also control that adrenaline. Don't let it, you know, get you carried away. Rather, try and bottle that fuel and really let it come out towards the latter stages when you need it. Cool. Marathon major number 4 for me. I'm full sending London next year. The year after, I'm doing Tokyo, and then I want to finish with Boston. But I know Sydney's in the mix now, and by then there might be another 2. So who knows where we're going, but I'm not going anywhere in a hurry. I can't wait. I'll be doing so many more races, upcoming races with my Insta360 cam, so I can give you a good feel of how I feel and speak through the race. But if you did the race, massive congratulations. Look out for Operation Speed, my side, coming up. A lot of shorter distance races. Let's go.